Hello, my name is David Ward. This is my wife Pauline, and we'd both like to apologise for our hair, which will be dealt with later this month. I joined Theatre by the Lake after 40 years in journalism and has now been associated with it for 12 years. And it's proved to be some of the best times of my working life. We both love the theatre, coming to it, meeting people, actors, friends, just theatre goers, talking to people. We love it. But when I joined, I went under the slightly embarrassing title of literary consultant. But what I really was a kind of words odd job boy. I learnt so much in those early years, and one of the things I learned was about something called show reports. After every show at Theatre by the Lake, one of the stage management crew produces a report, a written report, which just deals with how the show ran that night, whether anything went wrong, whether any problems with the audience, whether timings were upset. But I didn't know anything about these at all, and I just came across one of them. And this one referred to a show called Keep Smiling Through, which was one of 6 in the summer shows in 2011. 3 in the main house, 3 in the studio as usual. This one was called Keep Smiling Through and was a play about wartime Keswick. Not that this extract from a show report had anything to do with wartime Keswick. Mr. Ingalls was suffering from uncontrollable flatulence during Act 1, Scene 1, which was both audible enough to be heard in the wings and aromatic enough to be smelt by the front row of the audience. Well, I thought this is intriguing, so I did a bit of research and grabbed hold of Ben Ingalls, the actor involved, and said, well, what had gone wrong? And apparently this was an evening performance, and between a matinee and the evening performance, he'd eaten a 16-inch Hawaiian pizza, which had caused his particular problems that night. So I thought these things sound intriguing, so I read all of them for that 2011 summer season. There were 250. Put some of them bits together in a little book to raise money for the theatre, and it did quite well and sold quite well in the bookshops at both the National Theatre and the Royal Shakespeare Theatre, and I hope raised our profile a bit. Many of the show reports or the problems with shows refer to noises off, Michael Frayn's famous breakneck farce, which causes, it's a challenge for actors and stage crew. And things could so easily go wrong, and many of them did, particularly with clothes, and especially with underpants. And in the first of these quotes, which Pauline's going to read, there's a reference to Selsdon, and that was a character, a burglar, played by veteran actor Pete McQueen, who's played many times at Theatre by the Lake. And his pants featured in many show reports.
Mr. McQueen's weights fell out of his trousers during this afternoon's rehearsal, but no one was aware of this until after this evening's show. They were found on the floor during a scene change and given to a member of stage crew. We will need to locate them, and they will need to be put back in, as his trousers did not fall down very well this evening.
Mr. McQueen forgot to put his white boxer shorts on, but fortunately he was wearing his own when his trousers fell down.
Mr. McQueen did not have his Selsdon underpants on. Luckily, he had some of his own on.
Mr. McQueen did not have his Selsdon boxers on again this evening for the trouser drop, but he did luckily have his own. He has been putting them on in the interval, but from now on he'll put them on before the show. In the same play, Noises Off, actor Jack Power also had a few wardrobe problems.
Mr. Power's trousers did not come down the first time on their own tonight. He had to tug them at the back to make them fall.
Mr. Power was late for his Act 1 entrance. Darling, I've got her dress stuck to my head now, as he was struggling with his trousers. The studio play Blue Room also had a few troubles.
Mr. Addis came on without his shoes for scene 7. He had no reason for coming on without them. He apologises.
For those of you as clueless as me, this extract from a report on a play called Dumb Show gave a new insight into a use for portions of poultry.
One of Miss Saunders' bust-enhancing chicken fillets sprung a leak before the show. Miss Seymour and Miss Jones were unable to locate a spare one, so she wore the one she wears in Noises Off.
We're back in Blue Room, where actor Olivia Mace had a very complex underwear problem. Miss Mace in scene 2 tucked her knickers into her bra as they were twisted and she was running out of time to put them back on. However, she forgot to take them out during her quick change. On stage, she realised she still had them in her bra and remembered that Mr. Addis opens her shirt and might see them as well as the audience. She walked over to the sink looking hot and bothered and playing with her shirt. She opened the door to the cupboard and smoothly put the knickers inside the cupboard. Sometimes, however, nothing went wrong with the play, but things could go wrong with the audience.
In the interval, the cast reported that a couple sitting in A1 and A2 were full-on snogging in the first act. The cast, and one would imagine some of the audience, found this quite distracting, both visually and audibly. There was some slurping. Mr. Barker looked for the couple during the interval but couldn't locate them. As they came back into the studio for Act 2, he asked them to step outside to talk to Miss Jones, who politely pointed out to them that their behaviour was distracting the audience in the opposite seating block. They behaved themselves in Act 2.
And finally, here's an entry that was and remains completely inexplicable. Mid-scene 3, a noisy owl was heard as the vultures swooped down upon the dead nun. That really gave me the title for this little book, Noisy Owls and Dead Nuns. And in the intro to it, I wrote, "The reports here prove, if nothing else, that theatre is live and that every show seen by every audience that departs into the Cumbrian night is different." Well, for 4 months, nobody has departed from the theatre into the Cumbrian night, which is one of the saddest things that could have happened in the theatre's 21-year history. We both fervently hope that it won't be too long before we're with you in the main house or in the tight, closed space of the intimate little studio theatre, seeing real actors on stage doing what theatre does. So we look forward to seeing you then. Thank you. Goodbye. And we're going to go and get our hair cut. Bye.